He was up in St. Petersburg, Florida. They killed him. Any one of these guys that will not sell their technology to the big oil companies or to whoever approaches them, they get assassinated. Because they cannot have this technology coming out because it's too much of a threat to the oil industry. And the oil is one of the primary ways they're keeping us in bondage. As they keep bumping the price of the oil up, all of our money ends up going to buying gas now, which is the way it's getting. Go into the stores now. They're empty. I had to get some clothes for my little girl yesterday. And I mean, a lot of the stores are way emptier than I've ever seen them. Everybody's spending their money on gas. Well, it's all by design. It's control. They keep squeezing you and squeezing you and squeezing you until there's nothing left. That's their design. That's why I'm saying prepare now, in as much as you can. Because it's not going to get any better. I just don't believe it is. Unless by some miraculous hand of the Lord, our wicked government is basically taken out. I don't see any other way. I really don't. And it would have to be God's doing. So this guy invented a fuel vaporizing system where you get 110 miles per gallon. I think that would change things dramatically. If you got 110 miles per gallon, what would that do to most people? Well, it would quintuple. It would improve their gas mileage 5, 6, 7 times. It would depend on what kind of car they're driving. But see, they don't want that. They want cars to get bad gas mileage because then you got to buy more gas. Why is it that they've had this technology for all these years and yet the cars today get barely any better gas mileage than they did whenever? They keep, it's just, we're just being fed lie after lie after lie in every facet of our life. It's not just this, it's everything. This is what I've dedicated my whole life to, basically being a watchman and exposing this evil. The Food and Drug Administration's incestuous relationship with the pharmaceutical companies, who then fast-track the company's dangerous drugs to doctors who have sold themselves in their practice to their mega-buck clinic. They will rewards while waiting for the day that they can close all the natural supplements down or control them by taking the true freedom of choice from the American people. If you've been on my email list, you'll know that they're trying right now, unbelievably hard, to totally essentially take all the natural supplements and put them in the hands of the MDs through various things like Codex Alimentarius, through various Senate bills they're trying to railroad down our throat. Please email me if you want any more information on that. They're trying to create a very sick, drug-controlled population that will be very easy to control. Because if you're sick, think about when you're sick. It's kind of tough to resist when you're sick. It's kind of tough to be up there and really wanting to fight and go into battle when you feel terrible. When you got somebody drugged out of their mind, whacked down on all these medications, they're not gonna be the best candidate to go to battle. Gun control, hate speech, school agendas that advocate unlimited sexual activity, promotion of the homosexual, child, adult sexual relationships, the unlimited drug use are all about people control and a mindset that focuses on the obscene and criminal rather than the moral and righteous. Bill and Hillary Clinton's gift of technology to the Chinese. In other words, we sold them all kind of our military secrets to the Chinese. The deaths of investigators who got too close to the Mena, Arkansas thing. Now, this is a whole other thing with what we're talking about with Clinton. If you have any doubts about this, email me, and I'll get you a link to the video that goes into the Clintons and the trail of dead bodies that they left behind and all the things that happened with the Clintons. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the corruption. It's no different now. It's no different with the Bushes or anybody else now. In fact, I think they're even worse. But anyway, all of this can be easily documented. Why have these and many other criminal acts perpetuated by business and government agents been left untouched by the competent and honest FBI and Justice Department investigators? Well, probably because they're not competent or honest. Because the U.S. government cannot survive the real truth. It cannot survive the truth. If it could, the government would have demanded full investigations broadcast in the light of day. Disclosure will never happen with this government in power and the shadow government with its agents in the media. and all of this under the umbrella of death if you try to expose any of it. Emergency powers, ancient states of continuing emergency, the Patriot Act, thousands of unconstitutional laws, judicial deceit, judicial muzzling of the jury, executive orders, legislative manipulation, distortion, wiping away the Bill of Rights, nationalization of the state's military guards, police agencies, and the directors bought and paid for by Washington are all treasonous acts. This outrageous sellout of freedom, personal sovereignty, and liberty all stem from the convenient nullification of our protection from the involuntary servitude found under the 13th Amendment. So that was his take on things. Now we're going to go into this a little bit further. You heard me mention about the 501c3 church. Well, I think it's time that we expand on this a little bit more. Why this is so important, why I harp on it so much. Because we're going to prove right now that the 501c3 churches are absolutely in bed with Satan. It's that bad. It truly is. And this is why I believe the Lord's called me out and a lot of other people out. Do you realize the home church movement is actually the second largest denomination in America right now? Now, that denomination is not really a good word, and not to say all the home churches are good, I'm sure. And I don't want to sit here and think like, I'm the only purveyor of truth in the world, or that we're the only ones doing it right. I'm not going to be so as presumptuous as to say that. But people know something's wrong is the point here. And they're coming out of the churches evidently in droves, because if it's the second largest denomination, there's got to be a lot of people doing somewhat what we're doing. Now, I call this really a home church, I guess, Bible study. I'm not sitting up here calling myself a pastor or anything like that. I'm calling this a Bible study and current event study. And this is what we're doing. We're studying to show ourselves approved unto God. We're being as the Bereans do, to search these things out, to see if they be so. This first article is entitled, "The Faith-Based 501c3 Churches Are Now Part of Homeland Security." Did you know that? Oh yeah, they're part of Homeland Security. One of the most wicked organizations ever found. Homeland Security is the one that's basically the one linked up with KBR and Halliburton to make all the prison camps in America, all these 700 to 800 plus prison camps that are already in America set up, empty, waiting for people to fill them, like you and I. Oh yeah. Homeland Security is the one that's working intricately with them. And now they're basically proclaiming that all the 501c3 churches are now part of Homeland Security. Well, if you're a 501c3 church, you're part of that, whether you like it or not, because you chose to take that status, and we're going to talk about that more. Executive order. Now, this is an executive order from the White House. I'll send you this link, okay, if you don't believe me. This is from the White House. Executive order. Responsibilities of the Department of Homeland Security with respect to faith-based and community initiatives. Now, I'm quoting right from this executive order from this whitehouse.government link. This is not my opinion. By the authority vested in me as President of the Constitution and the laws of the United States, this is George Bush, March 7th, 2006, he signed this. In order to help the federal government coordinate a national effort to expand opportunities for faith-based and other community organizations, and the need to strengthen their capacity to better meet America's social and community needs, it is hereby ordered as follows. Number one, the establishment of a center for faith-based and community initiatives at the Department of Homeland Security. The Secretary of Homeland Security shall establish within the Department of Homeland Security a center for faith-based and community initiatives centers. Now, these are the 501c3 churches that they're in reference to here, okay? And it's going to be within the Department of Homeland Security. They will coordinate a comprehensive departmental effort to incorporate faith-based and other community organizations into department programs and initiatives to the greatest extent possible. So they're going to try to coordinate Homeland Security and these 501c3 faith-based initiative churches into the Department of Homeland Security. Now, I'm not going to just say this and go off the subject. We're going to do more confirmation here. Now, this was signed by George W. Bush at the White House, March 7th, 2006. Now, I'll send you the link to this whole thing. You can go up there and read it for yourself. I just gave you a little portion of it. This next article is entitled, "The Secret Plan of FEMA FEMA is another incredibly wicked organization.